All right, let's go ahead and get started. Today we're going to discuss Redstone Financial Group's philosophy of planning that helps attorneys and law firms protect their practice, lower their stress, and can potentially help them retire or even work less 5 to 10 years earlier. Now I'm going to teach you this by showing you our planning method that we've called the Retirement Efficiency Matrix. Now this is a planning method that we've designed that helps efficiently grow your assets and protect your business by diversifying how you invest and how you choose to be taxed at retirement. Now, to reach your retirement goals, it doesn't require any kind of luck or working like a dog if you implement the strategies that I'm going to show you today. Now, the question is, who is this for? Well, first off, it's for general practice attorneys, law firms, multiple partner law firms, people that are just starting out in their law practices. It's great for estate planning attorneys, personal injury lawyers, and even litigation attorneys. Now, a little bit about me. Now, I've worked extensively throughout my career with many successful law firms and individual attorneys. My experience of working with many attorneys has given me the knowledge and expertise to address their financial concerns and needs. Now, I'm the creator of the planning methodology, the Retirement Efficiency Matrix. And I've been in the industry for nearly 12 years, and in the midst of the largest recession this country has ever seen, I founded Redstone Financial Group. Now, in the next 45 minutes, here are the things that you're going to learn. First, we're going to discuss how to properly allocate your retirement assets based upon a criteria focused on your personal situation so that you can increase your opportunities for growth. We're going to have a discussion on how to save on taxes today and have the ability to also have a tax-free income in retirement so that you can spend more of your hard-earned money. And we're going to really dive into the tax code a bit. I'm going to teach you how to use the tax code to your advantage in retirement to make sure that you retain as much of your money as possible so that you're able to travel and better enjoy your retirement. Now, is this presentation for you? Well, if you're a successful attorney that is making a great income, but you feel like you're paying too much in taxes year after year after year, then this presentation's for you. And if you've had a hard time figuring out exactly what you want financially and you don't know exactly how to get there, then stick around. This is for you. And if you're worried about what would happen to your business and family if something were to happen to you or your income stream, then this is for you. And if the thought of working so hard now, just so the government will take more than 1/3 of your retirement makes you sick, then you're in the right place. Now here are a few house rules for the webinar. Although the Retirement Efficiency Matrix is an innovative approach to financial planning, it is still based upon fundamental financial planning principles. Now, if you're expecting a get-rich-quick scheme, then feel free to sign off now. Being successful at what I do has given me the luxury of working with those that I want to work with. And I've chosen to work with those who care about someone else more than themselves. I'm not interested in working with people that are purely self-centered. In order for the information in this presentation to be of value to you, you need to be successful and either have some investable assets or great cash flows. Now, I run my business with the highest of ethics and values, and I expect my clients to do the same. And also, please leave all preconceived notions or opinions at the door. I ask that as we go through this webinar, you place all pre-existing prejudices on the shelf. So let's talk a little bit about the financial stages of the attorney. So since our office has extensive experience working with attorneys and law firms, we have firsthand knowledge of the financial pain and anxieties that lawyers go through in their professional life and how that transitions to retirement. The first step is you're fresh out of law school. You finally have a good job with a good firm, but they are working you to the bone. You make a livable wage, but you certainly aren't independently wealthy, mostly because your student loans are now needing to be paid. Second stage is you're the associate attorney. You've now survived your first few years as a junior associate. You're still being worked like a dog, but at least now you have a salary that can sustain life. You may now have a family that depends on you, but man, those student loans are still hanging around. Then you reach junior partner. You've paid some dues, you've made partner, you're now making a great income, but the hours are still long. Student loans are almost in the rearview mirror. You have spent so much of your time making partner and paying student loans and raising a family. You realize your retirement is behind schedule, but you are making a great income. Also, when you begin to make good money, everyone has an opinion on what you should do with it, without having a firm grasp on what you want. But something else has begun. With the great income that you're making also comes great taxes. You work so hard and now you're giving away nearly 40% of your income to the IRS. I had an attorney client explain his feelings on taxes like this. I work the first 4 months of every year just to pay the IRS. After busting my butt until May, I finally get to make an income. Now you've made it. You're running the show. You are the senior partner. You are making great money. You don't have any more student loans, but the government is still killing you on taxes every year. You have some retirement saved, but things haven't been run as efficiently as they could have. And you're a bit behind. You're still working long hours because you are the best in your firm. But you want to begin spending more time with your family and traveling. Retirement may be within 10 to 15 years, but because of the time spent building your firm and life, you may be a bit lost on what to do. You've done so much to build this life for yourself that now you want to make sure that no matter what happens, your financial security can be maintained and protected. And you want that security to last even after you retire. Now, did we mention taxes? You are getting nailed coming and going. You get hit with taxes when you earn the money, and now I'm going to be taxed when you want to spend the money. How much of my nest egg will be wasted and or taxed? How many more years will I have to keep working and stressing to overcome all these drains on my money in order to have the lifestyle I envision for myself and my family in the years to come? So let's get into the meat of how we can help you. We're going to get into the meat of how we can help you get past your financial anxieties and onto the life you've envisioned for yourself. You didn't spend all those years in law school with the hope of always grinding away at the office. Now, with all those hours trying to overcome all the holes and issues within your financial plan, you'll need to memorize the words to Harry Chapin's song Cats in the Cradle, because you may not see your family very much. So let's really jump in and let's talk about the retirement efficiency matrix. What I would like to do first is set up some groundwork for the retirement efficiency matrix. We need to discuss some fundamentals of financial planning and how we can strategize within the framework based upon your exact situation. If I had $100 that I could invest, there are essentially 3 places I could invest that $100. The first place I can invest that $100 is in a cash location. Now, when we talk about a cash location, we're talking about your checking account, your savings account, or even a money market account. Typically, this is going to be anything you can find at your local bank or credit union. Now, if we look at the rate of return of a cash location over time, it may look something like this. you typically won't earn much interest on your checking or savings account. Go back and look at your banking statements right now and tell me what that looks like. They're not giving you much interest to hold your money. The second place you can invest your $100 would be in a fixed location. Now, when we talk about a fixed location, we are referring to bonds, which are what they call debt securities, or as I like to call them, loanership dollars. Now, most people don't understand how bonds actually work. So let me give you an example. Let's assume that the city of Las Vegas wanted to tear up the freeway again, and they needed a way to pay for the construction. They may issue bonds to the public. Now, the public could then buy those bonds for a set interest rate. For example, the city could sell a 10-year bond that would earn 5% for $1,000. You give your $1,000 to the city, they pay you 5% on that $1,000 every year for 10 years. And at the end of the 10 years, the city would then give you your $1,000 back. You essentially loaned the city your money for a specified period of time. Now, bond values can fluctuate over time, but the rate of return over time would look something like this. Now, the third place you could invest your $100 would be into equities, or what I like to call ownership dollars. When we talk about equities, we are referring to mutual funds or stocks. Now, those are the typical investments that we hear a lot about. Now, when you own a mutual fund or a stock, you own a piece of that company. Now, the rate of return over time may look something like this. Equities can be very volatile. When we talk about volatility, we're referring to the amount of uncertainty or risk an investment may experience in a given time frame. If an investment has a high volatility, then the value of that investment could have a higher spread in its values over time. A lower volatility means that the investment values do not fluctuate as dramatically. But historically, equities have done better than bonds, which have done better than your cash locations. So, if equities perform the best over time, why wouldn't I just put all my money in that location? Well, because it depends. It depends on your exact situation. Now, figuring this out can be determined by looking at 3 different criteria. What are the objectives for your money? Why are you even saving it? Is it for retirement? Is it for a second home? What you're saving for will determine how you invest the money. The second question is, what is your risk tolerance for your money? Now, this question tends to be more of an emotional question. Now, how do you react emotionally if your account experiences a correction or goes down? If you get anxious when the market goes down, then that tells me that you may have a lower risk tolerance. And the third question is, what is your time horizon for the money? When do you need it? If someone's 25 years old and is saving for a retirement age of 65, they have the luxury of being more aggressive with their investments because if their account goes down, they have enough time to let the account recover. Versus someone who is 55 years old, if their account goes down, they may need their money in the next few years. So, someone who is 55 years old tends to invest their money more conservatively than somebody who is 25 years old. Once we do a deep dive on those 3 questions, we can determine what they call your asset allocation. And then we can answer the question, how do I allocate my assets across those three locations of cash, fixed, and equities? It's always interesting how people view what I do in respect to investing. There's so many people that come up to me and ask the same question. What are you telling your clients to invest in? As if to expect that I have some magic wand investment that will give them the highest rate of return with little to no risk, no matter what the clients are trying to accomplish. An investment like this does not exist. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. My answer to this question is always the same. It depends. You would never ask a doctor, "Hey doc, what drugs are you prescribing your patients to take?" Somehow we've been taught that investing is as simple as taking a pill that will cure all ailments. Now, in any savings scenario, we're going to go through two major stages. The first stage is the stage that most of you are in, the accumulation phase. Then when we hit retirement, then we enter the distribution phase. Right now, many of us are in the accumulation phase of our lives. Our retirement accounts are smaller, and our goal is to grow those bags of money. Once we grow our retirement assets, we now need to determine the best strategy for distributing those funds. Once we need to distribute those funds, we're now entering the distribution phase of retirement. So we place our little spigot into our money and begin dripping off an income stream to ourselves. When we start taking our stream of income from our money, there are three locations we can take that money from, which will determine how we are taxed. Now, the first location that we can take our money from is what they call a fully taxable location. Examples of a fully taxed location is going to be traditional IRAs, 401ks, a pension plan, and Social Security. These are places that when you pull your money from them, you will be fully taxed as ordinary income when you take the money out because you did not pay taxes when you contributed to these accounts. The second location is a partially taxed location. When we discuss partially taxed locations, we are referring to capital gains taxes. These funds are treated in such a way that we are taxed on the gain of the investment if you held them for over a year. If you only held these investments for less than a year, they would be taxed at ordinary income rates. Examples of this would be mutual funds, stocks, and even real estate investments that are not your primary residence. Typically how this works is, let's assume you bought an investment for $100 and you held it for 2 years. At the end of the 2 years, the value of the investment is now $150, and you decided you wanted to sell that investment. You would be taxed on the $50 gain you earned on that investment. Right now, capital gains tax rate is 15 to 20% of the gain realized. Now, the third location is a tax-favored location. These are locations where when you pull the money from them, you are not taxed or you're taxed at a lower rate. Examples of these types of accounts are any retirement account that is a Roth account. Now that can be a Roth IRA or even a Roth 401k. Another example of a tax-favored location would be the interest earned on municipal bonds, and the cash value on certain kinds of life insurance can also be a tax-favored location. So, knowing what we now know about the tax treatment on our distributions at retirement, how can my retirement plan distribute my assets strategically? Now, this is where we're going to get into the part of the presentation where we talk about how you get to choose how you're taxed in retirement. So it's important that we pay attention. Now, most people don't understand how tax brackets actually work. Here we see the three lowest tax brackets for the example here is married filing jointly as of 2017. Now the first $19,050 that I earn will be taxed at a rate of 10%. The next $58,350 I earn up to $77,400 will be taxed at a rate of 12%. Then the next $87,600 I earn up to $165,000 will be taxed at a rate of 22%. Now the tax brackets continue on up, but for our example, we're going to stay within these three lowest tax brackets. So, now knowing what we know about how my money will be taxed at distributions and what I know about tax brackets, let's run through a couple of quick examples. Now let's assume that 100% of my retirement funds were saved and distributed from a fully taxable location. For example, traditional IRAs or 401ks or even a pension plan. And also let's assume that the annual amount, just to make our numbers easy, the annual amount that I'm going to take out from my retirement funds is going to be $100,000. Now in this simplified example, we're also taking into account that there are no deductions being credited. We're just showing this for illustrative purposes. Now, the first $19,050 I will take will be taxed at a rate of 10%. Giving me a tax bill of $1,905. The next $58,350 up to $77,400 will be taxed at a rate of 12%, giving me a tax bill of $7,002 on that chunk of money. Then the last $22,600, because my example, we're only going up to $100,000 of income, will be taxed at a rate of 22%, thus giving me a total tax or a tax bill on that money of $4,972. Add up all of those tax brackets tax bills, and I have a total tax bill of $13,879 on the $100,000 I took from my retirement funds. Now, had I been strategic in how I invested my money from a tax strategy standpoint when I was younger, I could potentially save a large amount of money in taxes in my retirement years. The idea is to not only do I want to diversify my assets across cash, fixed locations, and equity locations, but I also want to diversify my assets by the way they're going to be taxed at retirement. So let's assume the same withdrawal of $100,000 from our big bag of money for the example. But this time, let's assume that I have my assets spread across multiple types of tax treatments. So let's assume that I have some money in an IRA, I have some money in a pension plan, I have some mutual funds, I have money in some Roth IRAs, and I might even have a cash value life insurance policy. What I want to do is take my first $19,050 of income from a fully taxed location. So I'm going to pull that from my IRA, or I'm just going to take my pension income. So my tax bill on those funds didn't change from our previous example of $1,905. I'm then going to take my next $58,350 from a partially taxed location, such as my mutual funds. Now, how the tax code currently reads is this. If I take my money from a partially taxed location while I am in the lowest two tax brackets, my capital gains rate on those earnings will drop from 15% to 0. So, my tax bill on that $58,350 will be zero in this example. Now, tax rules could change, so this example is only valid based upon the current tax code. I'm then going to take my last $22,600 from a tax-favored location, like a Roth IRA, or even from my cash value life insurance. Because of the tax treatment of these accounts, my tax bill will be zero. When you add up the taxes owed from each bracket, the total tax bill on the $100,000 distribution is now $1,905. Now, of course, this is just an example, but by strategically planning where you put your assets today can have a tremendous impact on how much of your retirement funds you get to keep at retirement. Let me repeat that. By strategically planning where you put your assets today, that will have a tremendous impact on how much of your retirement assets you get to spend when you are in retirement. Now, let's have a bit of a discussion about where taxes may be headed. If we look at the current workforce and where it is headed, the current workforce is headed towards retirement, where is the majority of taxes coming from? Now, the green line represents the baby boomer generation. Now, because of the influx of baby boomers, they are paying the majority of the income taxes today. Which also means they are funding the majority of the government subsidized programs, such as Social Security and Medicare. Currently, the baby boomers are beginning to exit the workforce and retire to the tune of over 10,000 people per day. Now, what will happen when the majority of the voting population wants to take advantage of the government programs that they have been paying into all these years? One of two things will happen. Assuming the government doesn't raise the minimum age to start taking Social Security or take other measures, Social Security payments may have to decrease, or taxes may have to increase. So knowing that, where will you want your money upon distribution? If you're in your earning years today and the baby boomers are about to enter retirement, you're going to want as much tax-free money as you can get. The question is, with all of this stuff, where do we get started? There's a lot of information we've gone over. Where do I start? Well, the first step in every sound financial plan is the protection aspect of the plan. Then we focus on short-term savings. So now, knowing that information, where will you want your money to be when it comes to retire and you need to distribute your money? Now, the next question is, with all of this information that I fed to you today, the next question is, where do we get started? Well, the first step in every sound financial plan is the protection aspect of the plan. Then we focus on short-term savings. And then we look at the growth aspects of our financial life. So when we talk about the protection aspect of our plan, what we're really talking about is making sure that we have the right coverages in place in regard to our life and disability insurance, our wills and trusts, and even our home, auto, and umbrella coverages. It follows the idea that we want to make sure that we're properly protecting our current assets before we really start adding more. Next, we make sure that our short-term savings is in place. Ideally, you want to have 3 to 6 months of income in a cash position that is liquid. Something that we can grab, that if there is an emergency, we have access to that money. Then we start to focus on the growth aspects of our financial plan. Now, this is the step that gets people excited. We're talking about our savings for retirement, education, wealth accumulation, and our overall growth investments. Now, this that you see on the screen right now, this is the high-level structure of a sound financial plan. So, we have now discussed the 3 major arenas of building an efficient and sound financial plan. 1, how to allocate our assets properly across cash, fixed, and equities. 2, where to invest our funds in order to diversify our tax treatment, fully taxable, tax-free, partially taxed. And 3, how do I build my financial plan properly so that in the event of an unforeseen event, I'm able to weather the storm? What the Retirement Efficiency Matrix does is help build a customized financial plan that spreads your assets across all 3 areas to make sure you are able to keep as much of your hard-earned money today and in retirement, no matter the financial storms that may blow through, whether that be a correction in the stock market, a raise or lowering of taxes, or an unforeseen event that could be a financial emergency. Now, at this point, you have basically 2 options. You have a choice. Do you want to live in a place of information or transformation? You can take the information that you've learned today and go it alone. You can go forward without a tax coordinated plan while continuing to make emotional decisions and potentially wasting money and years of growth. Or 2, you can get the help myself who specializes in this. Now, you basically have 2 options at this point. You have a choice. Do you want to live in a place of information or transformation? You can take the information that you've learned today and go it alone without a tax coordinated plan while continuing to make emotional decisions, potentially wasting money and years of growth. Or 2, you can get help from us. We specialize in this. We don't do anything else. All of our time is spent solving this for our clients. Now, if you think we can help you and you decide to go with option 2, and you decided to work with us, here's what you can expect. If this sounds like you and you want help with your investments and retirement plan, then I invite you to set up a time to meet with me. Over the next 5 days, I've set aside some time to talk to you and see if I can help. We're going to talk for about 30 minutes, and we're going to map out an exact plan of action. It's going to be a tailored action plan for you to follow so that you can get your efficient plan started and protect your assets so you can begin potentially enjoying more of your hard-earned money. Now, to schedule the initial consultation, please go to the site listed and apply for our meeting. My calendar fills up very quickly, and I can only handle about 7 new appointments over the next 5 days, so you should apply now. I now want to take the time to thank you for spending some time with me today. I know there's some great things I can share with you that could help you and your family. Now, if you have any questions, I encourage you to apply to meet with me, and I look forward to talking with you soon.